Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Laid Back Life podcast, where we talk about how to love life, entrepreneurship, and improve daily. Joining me today, Jen Lee. Jen is your friendly neighborhood bankruptcy nerd by day, alter ego rebel Esquire by night. And if you don't know why we had her as guest solely from that segment right there, you've not watched enough episodes. She's a superhero for lawyers who are ready to stop doing things the way they've always been done. Jen challenges lawyers to question the rules they never meant to adopt in the first place. From pricing to practice areas to delegation and revenue strategy, she pushes attorneys to stop defaulting to fear-based decisions and outdated models simply because that is how it's always been done. Professional disruptor of stale legal thinking and host of the Rebel Roundtable. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Jordan.
And I would like to highlight Jen is here because I was asking ChatGPT, who are the guests that you are shocked I haven't yet had? And Jen was like the top of the list. It was like, wait a minute, I don't see an episode. You guys need to talk about this. So I'm so excited
That's
using
pretty
AI
cool.
to meet other humans.
That was pretty cool when you told me that. And ChatGPT is doing all the work for us. We don't need to do it anymore.
Well, the beauty for me is instead of me wasting a bunch of time researching, I can spend that much more time here, here with
Yeah.
you virtually,
Yeah.
whatever we call this. And
Yeah.
so we can actually talk and have a real conversation instead of spending, hours of me looking up like who'd be a good guest for the show. And flat out when I tell you it was like sassy offended that I haven't had you on yet. So I am sorry. I apologize
Look.
on behalf of the AI overlords.
Well, you never know when they're listening. Wait, they're always listening. So it did not offend them.
Very true. So I want to talk today. You mentioned creativity as a competitive advantage in law and why questioning the way it's always been done is a real growth strategy, a topic near and dear to my heart. Um, where do we start? Like maybe
I
what is
think,
creativity?
yeah, probably lawyers think creativity is not their bailiwick. They think that that's for actors and theater majors and things like that. And so creativity to me means we get to think outside the box and be different than everybody else, which some scares lawyers from what I found. I'm a lawyer, but not a very good typical lawyer.
Well, but I think that's probably positive.
Yes, because it makes me different. So people remember me. So that's what creativity really does. It makes you memorable. You're not the same as every other estate planning attorney out there who says, I plan estates for your tagline or for your 30-second intro. No one knows what that means. So when you're creative, people remember you, and then people want to work with you if they like your creativity style, which is important too. You want to work with people that you like. You don't want to work with people that wrong vibes rub you the wrong way, because then life is miserable, and who wants to be miserable?
And for anybody who is not watching the podcast, I always wear Hawaiian shirts. Today I'm wearing my food. It's like chicken, donuts, pizza, etc. So thank you, Jen. I appreciate the compliment of being unique and creative. Before we go deeper on creativity, I'm curious. You're talking about most lawyers think that creativity is for artists. So what do most lawyers think is their competitive advantage? Is the thing instead of creativity that helps them stand out?
So the traditional way to think about it is, oh, I do good work. And so the good clients will come to me because I have good customer service, or I do good legal work. And that's how clients will find out about me. No one goes out and talks about their good lawyer work that they had done. And so I think that was a traditional way of looking at it. I also argue with bankruptcy attorneys a lot on the free consult as their only marketing tactic, that the free consult is how they're known, but everybody's doing that. So that makes you zero difference than the guy next door.
Yeah, well, and then what always cracks me up is the next step behind that. They're like, we're a client-centric firm. And I'm like, there's no firm going out there being like, we don't really care about our clients. Like,
Yes.
the uniqueness is the thing that people argue both sides of. It is not
Yeah.
the obvious thing that everybody agrees with.
Yep. Yeah. I sat in a coffee meeting one time. This was years and years ago. And it was like an insurance person and someone else, just like, I get to know you, networking. And I was like, okay, so what makes your firm different? Oh, our customer service is good. I'm like, no one's out there saying my customer service is bad. Like, that's not a
Every
marketing
phone
advantage.
company, they're like, our network is good. Don't call us, but our network is worthy
Yeah.
when you have to call other people.
Yeah. And that's how most lawyers think too is, oh, I have good customer service. My clients like me. Well, what do they like about you? That's the creative part, not that they like you.
Well, and the craziest thing for me, so like you got Morgan and Morgan doing like we are the largest, injury firm, and then you have like so many of these smaller firms trying to play that they're slightly bigger, and I'm like, no, just play it like when you call, you get Jordan, you get Jen, you get like
Yep.
you. It is us. Like people will want that. So just play into your strengths or play into what you already have going for you or what your limitations are. Mindset shift it into the positive.
And if you're weird, be weird. I had a stuffed elephant I carried around with me as a bankruptcy attorney, and her name was Bernadette. And she was the elephant in the room. And she
Aww.
was the one that pointed out that half the room has debt and credit problems and no one talks about it. And so no one remembered my name, but they remembered that stupid elephant.
I obviously am so glad you made the elephant in the room joke, but the Bernadette, it really just took it to another level.
That it was accidental. It happened like that, but I take credit for my genius marketing for Bernadette. But
But
yeah,
that's what it is though. And look, let me to be honest about my journey, I did not wear cool Hawaiian shirts on day one, but I always wanted to be more laid back and I hated wearing a suit every single day.
yep,
And so like things evolve, but it needs to evolve from a place of genuine
yes,
authenticity.
yes. And you need to take ownership of it. Just own that you're different or weird. I'm the same. I don't wear a suit. The idea of going to an office would just tortures me. And so I don't wear a suit. I don't go to an office. I just own that that's who I am. And if you want a keynote speaker for your gigantic conference who's going to get up there in a suit, that's not me. If you want someone up there to get up and talk about authenticity and like designing a cool law practice, yes, you're going to get me, but you're going to get me in jeans and Tivas.
My book, Love Your Law Firm, takes my journey and gives you the practical steps that I took, as well as some things that I did to avoid. Now, in the second edition, though, we incorporate some stories from a bunch of my coaching clients, so you have a more well-rounded understanding of what it will take to run a great law firm. That being said, because I'm a lawyer and we wrote this for lawyers, I was told I have to provide a warning for the book. Reading this book could cause excessive delegation and might ultimately end up with you enjoying running your own law firm. I hope you'll check it out in the link below. I love it. And you're committed to that. And
Yeah.
people expect it. And it cracks me up the people that have like those social media meltdowns because they faked who they are for so long
Yes.
versus the people like you and I who's like, no, no, like trust me, you know us. Like it is we are who you see.
Yeah. Yeah. Social media is a whole other story too, because you can put whatever you want on social media, but you have to live up to it. If you're using that as marketing, it has to be part of your persona when you meet people too. I see too many people on social media faking things. This often comes up with financial stress. Like people are posting on social media how great their life is. And then in the background, their bankruptcy's happening, things are going on that they're not posting. And so it makes other people think that they're failing when really people aren't sharing the truth. They're sharing what they want you to see. So if you're going to
Well,
go out there and be yourself, then be yourself.
and the craziest thing for me is how affordably you can stand out. So like I was wearing this shirt for National Pizza Day. We ordered two pizzas from Papa John's, Domino's, Pizza Hut, Little Caesars, and did like a blind taste test with six of us.
Yeah.
So what are they? They're $7 and $8 a pizza. So it was like $80.
Yeah.
The feedback of like, oh my God, that sounds so cool. We need to do that, whatever, for $80. Like I'm not, my brand is not me flying private. It's like, let's try four different pizza places, blind taste test at the same time, and I have the shirt for it. So
Yeah. No, it doesn't have to be super expensive. I don't pay a ton for marketing because just being myself is weird enough that gets me what I need to get. So yeah.
So, to everybody listening who's saying something along the lines of like, I'm not unique enough, I'm not interesting enough, like, what do we say to those people?
Total nonsense. There's things in your life that you like to do that are different than other lawyers. I have a thing on Facebook where I post my drink of the day. It could be coffee, it could be wine, it could be everyone knows me like where my office is at because I just post a drink. So you don't even have to be that weird or different, just something that you like to do that you're willing to commit to a couple seconds of saying, hey, I really like this kind of wine, or I really like coffee. I can't live without coffee. There's something about
Lawyers who can't live without coffee?
you
What?
can't live without coffee. um, and so there's something about you that stands out. And sometimes it takes another person talking to you to pull that out of you. Like sometimes it's not just oh, I'm going to take this and make it my brand. And so that's a lot of fun I have is figuring out, okay, what actually makes you different and what makes you light up. Speaking of superpowers, what makes you light up? And when that happens in a conversation, that's when you're starting to dig into, okay, this is what you're about. What's really cool about you. So it's
Well, it
not for
cracks me up. So Patton Oswalt wrote this article called "The Death of Nerd," and
Mhm.
he's like, when I was a kid, there were only three of us in town that read comic books, so we had to be friends. We
Yeah.
had no choice. We would bike down on Tuesdays, Thursdays, whatever it was. He's like, but now there's so, Marvel and everything is so mainstream that like there's no more nerd culture, or if there is, it's like a whole nother level. So
Yeah.
it amazes me that people are like, hey, I'm not that unique. I'm like, no, no, no. Like if you talk about it, there's 8 billion people. Somebody will be like, oh my God, you also like 1965 Mustangs. The 68's terrible. The 65,
Yes.
like it just, the things people will connect about are the most minute, and the more
Yep.
specific you get, the more you attract your kind of people.
And yeah, the more clients who show up that either have they like that vibe, whatever you're putting out there, they like. And that's why I try to get across to people is if you have a specific client you like, figure out what you have in common with them. Figure out what you could relate on that's not, hey, I'm a bankruptcy attorney and you have debt, or I'm an estate planning attorney and you have money kind of thing.
Well, and what cracks me up is sometimes it's like the friendly not agreement. So like
Yeah.
I am a tortured Miami Dolphins fan. I think all Miami
I'm
Dolphins fans are
sorry.
tortured. Yeah, exactly. Flat out. But I had a client who was like, "Hey, I'm a Bills fan. I'm hiring your firm so that you can have a win in your life because your football team is terrible." Like
Yeah.
they came into the office, they saw the Dolphin stuff, they followed us on social, whatever, and like that was their thing. So even like two teams that should be sort of rivals, except again, the Dolphins are terrible, became a thing for us to bond over, and it was a really funny back and forth.
And it's funny how someone will, it could be totally opposite and they're still like, hey, that's cool that you do this. It doesn't have to be their, like you said, it could be total opposite. And as a Packers fan, your new GM is pretty cool. So
And our coach,
and your coach,
everybody
yes,
came
yeah, you
over.
got Jeff Halfley too. So
To
yeah,
be
half
fair,
of
I,
our
I am a part owner of the Packers just because I thought it was the most ridiculous thing in the entire world that you can buy ownership of a football team.
but marketing, like how unique is that? Every Packers fan, oh, I'm an owner means a zero, and the Bears roll their eyes at us. But marketing, they got raised a lot of money selling ownership shares of nothing. So it's great.
Well, well, and then my son tells it to his friends, and then my friends' parents are like, "You're the part owner of a football team," and I was like, "It was $300 online. We're not like, yes, I'm a multi-billionaire, but check out my podcast on Hawaiian shirts."
That's
Um,
hilarious.
yeah, but it's something, like it. I find people who hide their hobbies and interests are so much harder to connect with because like you don't know what to hang that
Right.
conversation on.
And they're boring. I go off on CLEs all the time that have statutes up on the screen that they read to you. I'm like, stories. Tell me why this is cool. Tell me how this goes wrong. Tell me something. But just it's boring to not talk about anything. But
So I did a CLE in Florida, and it was so Florida specifically has a thing like we will not give you credit for marketing CLEs. So I
okay,
was like, what if I did the statutes on referral fees and gift giving and etc. And they were like, yes. I was like, okay, how much time do I need to spend on those specific statutes? And I don't remember the number. I think they gave me like 2 minutes. And
yeah,
so literally I'm like, hey, here's my entire presentation. And then like every 15 minutes, I'd be like, all right, now for 30 seconds, this is the statute. The Florida bar required that we
yep,
needed 2 minutes on these. So I have four of them. And then like we played the Jeopardy music. And then we went to the
yeah,
next one. And I was like, and it's so funny to me because I have so many people that are like, I now remember that statute because like you just sat there silently
yeah.
for 30 seconds, but it was funny instead of actually going through, well, we did actually go through it Florida bar, just to be clear.
Just
There
yes,
were discussion around it, but putting up the actual statute and then playing the Jeopardy song was
but
our
yes, you
our
remember stuff
go-to.
like that. That's why you remember people and lawyers that you want to work with, and you remember CLEs that you attend because they were interesting and not because they were statutes written on a page.
How do
Yes.
we get the creativity out there to make it this competitive advantage, to get this growth strategy from it?
I think some of it is just doing what we're already doing, is talking about it and being out there because so many lawyers are, the market wasn't ready for stuff like this 30, 40 years ago. It was a very straight laced market. And I think now with all of the social media, AI that's coming, the legal market has to change. And people are starting to look for like what should I be doing. I think the other thing too is so many lawyers are at firms and their firms do things like in the 1980s. That's how we've always done it. And they're kind of realizing there are better ways, there are other people doing things and willing to break off and go do those other things. Now that in the past was, everyone was like, wait, why are you leaving your paycheck to go do this? I'm like, well, this is a lot bigger paycheck than when I was working at a firm, kind of thing. So there's money involved too. The more creative you are, the more information that you put out there and educate and give away, the more money you make. And so it's not a trade-off really anymore.
Well, and that's like I'm most terrified for like the lower level big law attorneys, 30s, early 40s, billable hour, right? Because
Yep.
like we've had automation forever. Now we have AI. Like, how do you still bill 2,200 hours with all the technology we have unless you are like aggressively avoiding progress?
Right. And that's what it comes down to is aggressively avoiding progress from what I've seen. And I've talked to some of the, associates at firms and like, we're all on board with automation and we keep suggesting things, but our managing partners aren't willing to look at any of this because they're scared of billable hours. It's going to cut our revenue and that kind of thing. And it's such a backwards mindset that, and I joked one time, I gave a presentation last summer and I said, so if you have a pile of rocks you're moving from here over to here, and one guy takes 11 hours to do it one by one, and the other guy has a machine and scoops them up and moves them over in 10 seconds, which one is more productive? Which one's the harder worker? And everyone's like, well, the 11-hour one worked harder. I'm like,
But
but
I would
he,
spend more money for the machine because I don't have to watch this guy for 11 hours move every rock. Like it's
right.
done faster.
Yes. And it makes sense because you can use the machine over and over again. You don't, like, I just was going off on this whole idea that working harder doesn't mean that you spend the most hours on something or being the best at it doesn't mean you spend the most hours. That's such a backwards way of looking at value that it kills me. How many hours? I don't care how many hours. I could have spent 30 seconds on it and done it better. So,
Well, but then your accessibility is also inverse to the amount of times you have to grind out the work. Like the person
yep,
doing the 11 hours of moving rocks can't answer any questions, can't talk to anybody, can't, give feedback to the staff because they're moving rocks one at a time.
yeah,
And yet
exactly.
that's what lawyers do and brag about.
Those billable hours, I can't stand them. And there was a good conversation I had recently too that was talking about how the billable hour was built 100 years ago when the economy supported something like that, like it was a training ground and how it was all built up. It's just the legal industry has such a problem changing. I know, shocking, right? They just have such a problem changing the way things have always been done that they are 20, 30 years behind other industries still.
Well, and the other side of this for me is the more that we allow private equity into legal, private equity is not taking billable hour firms. Like they're not going to make there's no way to make enough money on the scalability of it.
Oh,
They're going to get in on the firms that have the automation, that have the flat fees, that have obviously, PI with the contingency fee stuff because like
yep.
they're seeing that's where real money can be made versus grinding, grinding, grinding until you become dust.
Right. And who wants to live like that? That's not a very laid back life.
I love it. Nice. Good plug.
No.
Um, how do we get people to make this change?
First of all, accepting whatever weirdness comes at you. I think our first thing in our attorney brains is to say no. Whenever someone presents a new idea, our attorney brains are like, nope, 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 can't do that. Here's all the red flags. So I'm often telling people to turn off their lawyer brains and turn on whatever else they have, but it's not a lawyer brain. So I think being accepting of whatever weirdness is out there. I've seen some very weird marketing, and I'm like, okay, they're different. I remember them. It works for them. Wouldn't be the attorney I would go to, but that's okay because we're not for everybody. And then I think the other thing is lawyers have a way of the scarcity mindset. Like everything is have to have every client. I have to like if I don't have it, it's going like they're stealing my clients. The competition next door is getting away from that and realizing that there are enough clients out there for everybody. And you'd much rather work with ones you like than ones that are in this weird scarcity thing. It just drives me crazy. And I always tell people when they start working with me, I'm like, if you are a fan of the billable hour and you want to do things in word perfect and you want a server in your garage, I am not the right person to work with because I will boot you off a cliff so fast because I can't deal with that. So I think just letting people know that there's others out there that aren't in that mindset anymore is probably a good way. But I'm always open to talking to about ideas. How do we get conferences to present these topics? How do we get judges to buy into some of this stuff? Because judges too are some of the problem with the billable hours. They want everything lodestar. They want everything like related to back to how much time it takes to do things. So
Sure. Well, but you had turn off your lawyer brain. I also think like if you think like your
yeah,
client doesn't want you operating in WordPerfect and nobody else can edit it. Your client doesn't want your garage flooding and the server being destroyed. Your
yes,
client doesn't want you to intentionally take more time so that you can bill more on it. Like it's not just our lawyer brain. It's like if you're truly trying to serve this person, think about what serves them the best.
yeah. Yes. And I think thinking like your client and talking like your client, because lawyers tend to go off in legalese land
Mhm.
too. Talking like your client. And I mean, there's a whole SEO, Google search nonsense out there. But then just like, what is your client? What are they going to understand from you? I'm doing a presentation next month, and it's this jargon around bankruptcy and how our clients don't understand their options because lawyers are out there using all these acronyms and things that no one understands. So, how does your client talk, and how do you talk to them on that same level? I think is important too.
168 hours. That's what all of us have every week. It's interesting to me how many times I talk to firm owners who are struggling to do more, to make more marketing efforts, have more lunches, handle more cases, but ultimately none of us are living a shorter day where we can just create more time. So how do we do that as a business? We can scale up time by hiring more people. We finally created an awesome system, our complete hiring process. We're going to share with you how to incorporate AI and other technology into the hiring process to make sure that you have the best chance to hire the right person. So if that's something you struggle with, click the link below, check out our complete hiring process, and let's get your law firm back on track.
Well, but even from an SEO standpoint, especially from an AI standpoint, like these large language models are trying to
Yep.
explain things to humans. So
Yep.
if your website sounds like you were explaining it to humans, it's going to pull your
Yep.
info, which sounds bad until it's LLMs referring clients to you because they're like, oh, you need to talk to Jen. You need to go to
Yep.
Jordan's firm. You need to go over here. Like, this is the answer you're looking for, which is
Exactly.
so much fun. Let me tell you, getting referrals from AI is so much fun.
I know. I That's why I loved it when you like screenshot sent that to me because I've had that happen like on several occasions recently. And I'm like, this is so cool that what I'm feeding into it and what I'm putting out there into the world is actually resonating with LLMs and AI and things like that. So not that I want to be like AI, but I want them to refer me.
Sure. Well, and I think the way they refer, so like, it's one thing to show up at the top of Google, but like literally a friend of mine who I don't think AI did not know that we met was he posted a thing about executive assistants and AI was like, there's this lawyer called Jordan Ostroff. He wrote a book called Love Your Law Firm. You need to go, get the book, listen to this podcast episode. And he was like, oh, I played disc golf with that guy and sent me the text. And I was like, oh my God, this is, like it really like what was it? It got up on a soapbox for me. It wasn't just
Yeah.
like this is a thing.
Yeah. Well, I always say that, like ChatGPT, they tell you what you want to hear. So a lot of times it does like take your persona and throw it out there. And mine often talks about rebellion and being sassy and things like that. So yeah.
Love it. All right, so let's dive back into this. I want to talk about if you are watching this as it comes out, it's Tuesday. This Friday newsletter is day 5 of our 6-part series on Change Anything. This week we're talking about You're Not Weak. The rewards are backwards. how to design a system that helps you get the change you want by triggering dopamine and your reward response through the standpoint of my journey to lose weight, but worthwhile for anybody with any change in life, because ultimately that's what all this is about, where you are and where you want to be. Um, Other than the billable hour, what are some of the other most common, the way it's always been done, legal problems?
I
Problems
think
with
what,
legal.
yeah, I think what, again, it's a lot of the very structured, like suits type, like people expect their attorney to be up in a tall building, um, winning cases in an hour and that kind of thing. So I think TV has done a little bit to ruin how the legal model actually works. But lawyers often think like that. Like I see kids in law school and they think they're going to go off and work at this big law firm. They want to do international law. I always hear that from law students, and I'm like, okay, that's not really a thing, but okay. So I think some of that is just like remnants of TV and what people think a lawyer does. The lawyers, I love talking to paralegals, to be honest, because they will give you a lot of dirt on like what actually goes on. This idea that you have to be in an office. That is one of the big things that's coming up these days is I have to go, I'm a paralegal, I have to go sit in the office because the partner has to look over my shoulder to make sure that I'm working. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I always tell them, don't start your own firm. You can be a paralegal. You can be a remote paralegal. I will give you a list of lawyers looking for remote paralegals. I'm sure the lawyers are going to start hating me for convincing their paralegals to not work there. But this idea that you have to be in an office to be working or productive kills me, especially after COVID. Like I was remote since 2010 and my job had been remote since 2004 and paperless since 1999. And the fact that in 2020, lawyers freaked out that they couldn't go to an office. I thought that would be the end of it. Thought, okay, lawyers are going to now admit that you can work from home, you can work from Starbucks, you can work from wherever. But no, now they're all on this kick to go back in the office and
We
look
gotta
over
get
your
back. We gotta get back.
Sorry, it's one of my biggest pet peeves. I'm like, you don't have to be in an office to do good work.
Well, and the crazy thing for me is like right now, I don't know, the self-determination theory, like, right? It's the concept of what employees are looking for most
Yep.
or what employees get the most success from, right? Whatever the lingo.
Yep.
The first one is autonomy.
Yep.
What is autonomy? It is definitely not the partner breathing over your shoulder with a wall of legal books behind you in their, black or navy suit with a red tie.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, and then the other thing that cracks me up about it is you have firms that, like in California or New York, that are hiring people in a couple states over for half the rate
Yep.
because they don't need an office. They don't have an office. They can get somebody at a state that has a lower cost of living who moved from their state, who knows the law, who can focus on this instead of having to pay top market rate.
And if you're looking for, I hear all the time that lawyers are having a hard time hiring. Like, we need attorneys. We need attorneys. And I'm like, well, what are you offering that would make them want to work for you? And then I find out it's 5 days in downtown Dallas or something crazy like that, where you have to drive in, and it's 8 to 5 and no consideration for like a kid's getting out of school at 3. And that flexibility is so huge these days. I tell people all the time, I don't care really what hours you work as long as work gets done. We do have some core hours for the different groups that I work with, but for the most part, you can have moms and dads, and you can have people that want to leave at 3 o'clock or they don't want to work. You can make schedules like that. And to me, that's the easiest thing you can do. Like, is be flexible about work hours and letting people go to doctor's appointments. Like, I shouldn't need a doctor's note as a lawyer when I'm 40 years old to need to go to the doctor, that kind of thing. So that flexibility is the first thing that law firms could do that I'm hearing the most is not happening. And
Have you ever read,
the complaints.
Sorry. Have you ever read 168 Hours by Laura Vanderkam?
I don't think I've read that one.
Okay, so highly recommend it. It is like, she does a really good job talking from like a female perspective, but in a way that is accessible to everybody, and talks like, does the split shift, right? Like, she's like, it's amazing to me the people that will work late and then not see their kids, as opposed to like if you come home at 5, see your kids until 8, and then do the the 2 or 3 hours, it gets you the same thing. Plus, you see your family. I love the way that she talks about like that's what we have in a week, 168 hours, and how to like
Yeah.
maximize it. And obviously, it's written for an individual person, but I think it's so applicable as a business owner to apply that same flexibility to everybody.
Yes, but it takes trust and it takes systems and it takes like actually thinking through like how your firm works and designing it out so that it works for people. And the complaint I hear is, oh, I don't have time for that. I just want hard workers who are gonna come in and work. I'm like, hey, but what if you get better workers if you're flexible? And kind of falls on deaf ears sometimes.
How do we help people make that change?
I mean, I have started just hiring their associates and staff away and giving them options for other things. So I'm probably not the best. I wrote an article last year that was basically, if you won't be flexible and adopt automations and forward looking, I will just convince your employees to leave at this point, because a lot of it comes from the top. A lot of it's the top not willing to look at any other options, not be open to it. And some of them are probably towards the retirement age. And it's like, well, I don't want to do all this changing now. But they're mad that no one wants to take over their firm or no one wants to buy their firm. I'm like, no one wants to buy something that I could teach them how to open a better one tomorrow. And so I probably come at this from a very rebellious angle. It was like, I've done trying to convince them. I'm just going to convince the associates and support staff that there's a better way.
Well, so my wife teaches law school. She had a student reach out from a couple of years ago. It's like, hey, I got an internship at this firm. The partner just screams at us and threw a shoe at one of the other, interns, associate, whatever it was.
Whatever.
And like, obviously that's wrong. Let's start with that. Obviously it's wrong. And then she was like, you have to find a new place. That's super toxic. Like, yes, some law firms are tough, but it shouldn't be like that. And like, she's telling me this story and I was like, but why have a business that makes you so aggravated that you act that way? Like, what's the benefit of the frustration? I don't get it.
Because that's how it's always been done. I keep getting this hazing. Like when I talk to attorneys who are in that mindset, like, well, we had to go through this whole hazing thing where we got screamed and yelled at and we were given no templates for anything. We had to like go to court and make mistakes in order to learn how to practice law. I'm like, and wouldn't it have been much easier if someone had given you a template and said, this is how it's done, instead of making you suffer for 4 or 5 years? And now you're also of the mindset that we all have to pay our dues somehow.
Well, and if we don't have the billable hour, the firm's going to really make sure that template is in place, because otherwise you're wasting time. Like if we want you to waste time, then fine. But if we want to be profitable in a technology forward 2026 way, like, here's a template, you have to use the template, please use the template, despite law school telling you will get kicked out for copying off other people. Like, now that you're a lawyer, you cannot start from scratch on anything. It is not okay.
Which would be a great marketing tool to say, our firm is different. We don't have billable hours because we get things done quicker and don't charge our clients for it. But yeah, we do charge. Yeah, we charge our clients not for the hours, but for the value. But yeah,
sure. Well, and then you're incentivized to produce more value. Instead of with the billable hour, you're incentivized to produce more noise, more time.
You're incentivized to take as much time as possible and then to put like 5 hours you spent on this motion, but the partner's going to write it off to 3 to make it look like the whole game of putting time out there and writing it off and writing it down and making it look like, oh, you gave so much value because there's all these hours we wrote down this month. But what was the value of the motion?
Wild. What do you see, like, other than automation and maybe with AI? Like, what do you see the good firms doing to allow for this flexibility, to allow for this competitive advantage, growth strategy, creativity?
I think there's a couple of things. First of all, they are letting employees identify their own strengths. This is a thing I'm a huge fan of. If you have an associate who hates being in court, but they are a mastermind at like writing and strategy on a case, don't make that attorney go to court. So kind of using the strengths and building your team around like, who are the strengths? And yes, you have to work on your weaknesses. Yes, there are times we have to do things that we're not the best at, but I'm finding so many like cookie cutter, like you have to do all of these things and it doesn't make people happy, and doing things they aren't really good at. So I'm a big fan of taking your firm and structuring it around what strengths do we have, who's working on what, and then being very clear on why people are working on certain things and how it makes the firm, the team together well. So I think that's one thing that smart firms are doing right now. They're taking the automation, and I know a lot of paralegals are worried about getting replaced by automation and all these things that are happening. But if paralegals aren't doing like the rote writing, drafting, whatever that's needed, they have time to do more important things like talking to clients, marketing. And I think that client experience is the other thing that good firms are doing, is they're looking at what their client experience looks like and how they're designing their firm around the client, actually being client-centric and not just saying that we're client-centric. And so I think designing around the client experience, is it easy for them to make an appointment? Who do they get when they call? Is it like when they sign their retainer, is there like a whole structure in place to make it easy to pay you? So many firms make it hard to pay them. It boggles my mind. Like if I wanted to pay this person and they're going to make me write a check out and print something and send it in, I probably am not paying that bill. It's not going to happen. So right, I think the client centric.
Wait, story time.
Okay.
Go. This happened to me within the last 6 months.
Okay.
I needed to hire another lawyer because lawyers go either two ways. We stay in our lane or we try to do everything and then we have an idiot for a client. Yep. I am a stay in my lane. Yep. So I reach out to a firm. I got a referral from them, said, spoke highly of their work. They quoted me $5,000 on a retainer in the beginning. Cool, no problem. Then they told me to print out the contract and sign it and send it back. And I was gonna do it because of the referral. I was going to do it. I don't know where to find a printer because it's 2026. Maybe I email it to CVS or something like that. And then like a week and a half went by and they never followed up about any of this. So I was like, wait a minute, hold on. So I'm gonna hire this firm that you don't have the technology to get paid easily. You're making it complicated on me and you never follow up. So now when it comes to you handling my case, I assume you're not going to have templates, you're not going to do it forward, and you're not going to follow up to get me the money. So like, I did not hire them. So at the very least, they are out at least $5,000 solely from this one thing. Like, this is a real story. I swear to you, this happened in 6 months. Like, please, this is not some crazy thing that people talk about. Like, legitimately, I did not pay them because I did not hire them. Let's say I didn't pay them because they were making it complicated, and it was 2025 at the time.
You have to make it easy. It's insane how often that happens. And I see it. And they're like, well, if they want to do business with us, they should want to do. I'm like, no, that is not how 2026 works. You have to make it easy. And if you don't have e-signatures, I mean, for the love of Pete, again, 1999 technology, just get your e-signatures in order and pay the stupid subscription fee for whatever e-signature you want to use and stop complaining about how expensive technology is. All
right. On those lines. So I get a bar complaint where the person said that we forged their signature, right? Okay. Now, if it was not technologically forward, I don't know, you hire a signature expert, they go in, they compare, I don't even know. I was like, I had my thing from Lawmatics. It had IP addresses. It had time open. It had the Google account that was logged in. And I sent it back and I was like, I don't know what to tell you. It's not the IP for me. It's the same email address on the complaint. And like within, I don't know, 2 weeks, the bar was like, oh, okay, great. You didn't forge the signature. So like on top of like the digital side of it actually was better for me because of the amount of metadata that was collected versus the, what do we call it? Wet signature? Is that the right?
Wet signatures. I'm
like, this was great. I could pull an email thing instead of hiring a $5,000 expert to do a forensic analysis of the loops in the L's or whatever the heck is required to prove signatures.
I mean, but that's a good point too, because I mean, the system is itself behind. There's courts that still won't allow digital signatures. I mean, I struggled this in bankruptcy because I help attorneys in multiple districts across the country. And I'm always looking up their wet signature rules and like what's required. And if you file it on the docket, it's got to be like it's got to be a wet signature or you have to have a wet signature in hand for some. And I'm like, this is the most inefficient. So then my clients or the clients who are in bankruptcy are supposed to go buy a printer and pay money to like print this stuff out and sign it and send it back, when I could have sent them a legally binding electronic signature document. The courts are behind too. I rail against courts and judges quite a bit too, which makes me not the favorite person in some rooms. But yeah.
Well, but we like so many, and maybe it's the bar associations more than anything else, talk about like this access to justice problem, right?
Yeah,
like how can we help underserved people? I'm like, this is where you start. Make it easy for people to take cases. Make it easy for them to provide the information. Like if I have to send a runner to get the printed out 150 pages in a binder for the judge for them to read the case law, I have to charge for that. So like,
right.
You want access to justice, let me do a digital signature. Like, come on. No,
yes.
Can't do
and
it.
Don't even get me started on remote hearings. The judges who still make you show up in person from like 4 or 5 hours away for a hearing for 5 minutes at the conference. But yeah, make it easy to do business with your firm, with your system, with everything. Yeah.
Well, so the last hearing I ever did during COVID, I actually got approved beforehand to wear a collared shirt because I was like, I'm sitting in my office. It's COVID, right? Like the judge and the JA signed off on it. It was a motion to suppress on like this one of the last criminal cases we ever had, and the stupid cop parks, I don't know, some like random storage unit place. So he's like, I approached the defendant, at which point, and then I observed that the defendant was like the whole thing. And so the judge, we go to argument. The state attorney never asked a follow-up, didn't ask any clarification. I was like, I'm not crossing this person. Judge like argument. I was like, there's no information on the record. And the judge was like, I agree. I was like, this is amazing. Like this was a hearing that probably went differently because of bad internet, but
yeah.
But for 99% of the time, we should have remote hearings. It's easier for everybody.
Yeah, saves money, but then you can't bill for 2 hours of travel time.
But you get lawyer cat or not lawyer cat or whatever.
Right. I'm not a cat.
Too funny. All right. Anything else in our last 5 or 10 minutes that you want to make sure that we cover that I have not asked you about? This was wonderful.
I feel like I rant and go on a lot, but no, I would say for lawyers who are out there who have been either they set up their firm 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they're like, well, it's too late for me to change. It is not. You can change your practice area tomorrow. You can change your design. You can update things like, well, my hours on my website say I have to work 9 to 5. Who's in charge of your website? Change the hours on your website. And so I do a lot of convincing lawyers that they can have the firm that they want and design, even if it's been 5, 10, 15, 20 years since they went out on their own. So it's not just for new attorneys starting their firms. Design a firm that you want, that you like, that has life balance that you want, because work-life balance is kind of a misnomer. I think it all integrates with each other. But if you hate your job, you're going to hate your life. In the same way, if you love your job, you're going to love your life more likely. There's always exceptions, but yeah. I mean, so I would say design
168 hours in a week.
Yep.
We work 40 hours, 50 hours, whatever. Like, so you're spending about a third of your life at work.
Yep.
Enjoy it, please. Like this is not if you enjoy what you do, you don't work a day in your life. No, like it's still work, but it can be more enjoyable work. It can be more fun work. It can be more rewarding work. Like there's so much opportunity with small changes, just little tweaks here and there, and see what happens.
Even big changes. Like you can, I have an attorney who's like, I've always wanted to do estate planning, and she's a litigator of some sort. I'm like, great, then let's get you set up on how to open up an estate planning firm. You can do that tomorrow. They're like, well, I can't just switch practice areas. This is what I picked when I got out of law school 20 years ago. I'm like, that's not how it works. You don't have to pick something and then never change it. But that's a lot of the mindset is
you need to stay miserable for 20 more years until you can retire and then have fun, because you're already pot committed. Like that's
right? No,
but there's so many lawyers walking around with that belief. Maybe hopefully not consciously, but subconsciously.
I think that's what a lot of it is the underlying like fear mindset that gets drilled into us. I don't know if it's part of the Socratic method or what happens, but it's like that fear of this is what we picked and this is the life we've chosen kind of thing. But yes, I talk a lot of lawyers off that ledge and back into reality sometimes.
There comes a time in most firm owners' life where they're ready to make that switch, where it's no longer about survival. It's about how to thrive It's about how to have the practice they've always dreamed of and the life that they've wanted to live forever. That's what I help people do. I've done it myself, and I've worked with dozens, if not hundreds of other firms to help them implement similar systems. So if you're tired of doing everything and not knowing your numbers and having no idea where your next case will come from and worrying about how to make payroll, and you want to get over those things, click the link below and let's reach out to see how we can work together to help you achieve those goals.
Where does somebody start with this? Like, they're listening to this episode and they're like, oh my God, I am the people that Jen and Jordan are ragging on. What's the first step of the change?
Find your people. Find people who are like me and Jordan, who will say, yes, you can do that. Because if you live in this echo chamber of no, and that's how it's always been done, you'll never escape it. It just keeps going around and around and around. So I always say, find your people. And whether that's me, whether that's Jordan, whether that's anybody else out there who's talking about changing, find supportive people and not old crotchety people.
I love that. And even if it's like just posting on Facebook, like, hey, I'm currently doing this. I hate it. I want to do this. Who's with me? Who has insight? You know, who can I pick your brain? Like, see who responds to you. Just put it out into the world and see who responds back.
Yeah, I often respond to those posts with like a scheduling link to just do like a 20-minute connection and just see what they're thinking about doing, because I'm curious.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
And then if somebody's been listening for the last 50 minutes and remembers nothing but this, what's our biggest takeaway?
That we don't have to do things the way they've always been done. That's not a strategy anymore that's useful. So,
but has it ever been a strategy?
I think it's been a complacent strategy. It's easy to adopt what's already been done and not have to think for ourselves. So,
but like travel agents, milk people, like there's so many of these jobs that have gone away because of technology, innovation, somebody else figuring out the other way. And like now AI is coming for brain jobs too. So like stay ahead, you know, like there is still a travel agent out there somewhere. There's still, you know, there's still
a great travel agent.
but what makes them great? There's some element of customer service, knowing you really.
Yes, that's what it is. It's knowing me and my kids and what we want. So yeah.
So the law firm should do the same thing. Like that's the way how you'll beat AI. You know, all these people ragging about like for estate planning. Oh, Office Depot sells like a $20 will package. Great. If somebody's going to do that, they're not going to pay you $5,000 for an estate plan. So make it valuable to the right person.
Yes. Quit worrying about Walmart selling legal options because those are not your clients.
I love it. We could go for so long.
Go for hours.
But like I always talk about like the people that are the grinders, grind post. Like I think more posting by people like you and I, more collaboration here. More like I just want people to post on social media. Like my firm went really well this week and I sat on the couch at Netflix starting at 3:00 on Friday because of it. Like that's just give me, the small things. Because there are people out there doing this and being happy and being rebels and finding success but it's because they did not do it the way that some person 30 years older than them thought they needed to do it.
Exactly. And they probably told you it wouldn't work when you tried it at the beginning. I got told that a lot. It wouldn't work.
Until it does. Like if Regina Edwards can run a flat fee family law practice, you can find a better business model.
Yes, definitely.
A whole thing. All right. So for anybody smart enough to want to tap into your brain more, follow what you have going on, check out some Rebel Roundtables, what's the best way for them to connect?
So lawyersuccessnetwork.com is my website, or LinkedIn. I'm generally on there. I have a free community for lawyers called Launchpad, LAWNCH. So it's all over my website and happy to connect.
I always love a good pun. I have a buddy who's like, I have a friend who's like, puns are the lowest form of humor. I was like, yeah, but regular life isn't funny. And he was like, fair. We've upgraded. I was like, thank you. Cool. All right. So thank you to everybody who watched and listened. We'll see you back here next week for Robert's episode. In the meantime, check out Jen's stuff. Send it out in the universe that you're looking for a change, not want to do things the way they've always been done. And ultimately, let's find some happiness.
Good. Thanks.